In a nutshell, how would you explain Australia's systemic housing problems?
Yeah, easy to summarise in 30 seconds or less.
I'm so glad I got here for it.
And an intimidating audience to do it to. Look, I'm going to try and be very simple and do three main things. Obviously, there's a lot of other stuff that's happened, but Australia built a model around home ownership, a model that was actually pretty innovative at the time and did some things very well and has led us to have a series of quite profound problems. I'm going to say there are three things that we need to really work out. So one is that because so many people realistically could afford home ownership, including lots of blue-collar workers who could realistically think that they were going to get to home ownership, we created a system of private tenancy which is one of the worst in the world. So we have a real tenure problem, which is there is an enormous tenure cliff between the private rental market and the other forms of tenure. And if everyone is only going to stay in private rental for a tiny period of time because they know they're going to go somewhere else, that's maybe not such a big deal. But when lots of people are trapped in private rental, can't see their way out of it, are raising families in private rental, that's a really serious issue. The next bit is that we've now got a system, much of which is built around capital gains. So we had a deregulation of the finance sector, which has partly led to lower interest rates, not right now, but in general, and much easier access to capital. But what that largely did was that it meant that you still had to have some wealth in order to access any of this capital. You need to have security, a deposit from someone. And what it meant was there was just heaps more money at auctions to bid up prices. And that has led to a model where people increasingly think about housing as a way of being able to capture the growth in capital gains. And lots of money flooding into that system where you need to have some money first before you can get into it. And then I think, and this is a really tricky bit, is that we have a politics of housing that rather than it knows those problems, right? It's not like politicians don't understand those problems. So we have those two big problems, but the politics of the system means that we try to reinforce them rather than try to roll them back. And that's partly because 2/3 of the population, including the wealthiest 2/3 and the highest income 2/3, don't have to deal with the private rental system. Yeah? So if you're a politician, you have to take a model where 2/3 of the population have material interests against you. Not only that, we've built a system where we've told people to put their life savings into one, not just one asset category, one physical dwelling, often. And then we've put them into a deregulated financial market where they possibly could see large losses. Now, obviously, governments are not going to let that happen, and so we have a default guarantee that underwrites house prices and in fact tries to push them up rather than pushing them down, because obviously no government is going to withstand people losing half their house values and start having people foreclose on their mortgages. Yeah? So we've got this very tricky situation. In fact, what they've done instead is use the tax system and first home buyers grants to be able to inflate this system, which is not only most people's form of tenure and investment, it is now one of the main sectors left of blue-collar employment, where the people who are employed in that sector, because it's a market sector, you might hear that supply is the solution to bring down house prices. Well, guess what happens when house prices are going down? They stop constructing buildings because they want to sell them for a profit. And that means that people in the construction sector lose their jobs. So for a whole range of reasons, we have a political problem that's kind of turbocharged to detonate if we try to solve the social problem.
Thanks, Ben.